Retirement is one of the toughest decisions every NBA star dreads making. Some players cling onto their spot past their prime, while others are forced to leave the game before establishing their legacy. And over the years, every retired NBA player has found a unique way to put this free time to use. Some see it as an opportunity to touch grass. For the rest, retirement is just the beginning of a second career in the limelight.
I had churros last night. I see what all the excitement is about. I had churros last night.
Talk to him, Tuck. Talk to him.
Them churros good.
This position gives them a chance to entertain, promote the NBA culture, and keep the OG fans interested in the game. However, there's one NBA champ who has sadly gone against the tide in every way possible. Of course, we're talking about Kendrick Perkins.
Yeah, he's an idiot and a fool, but he know who he is. What's his name, Shaq?
Which one you talking about?
Kendrick Perkins.
Oh,
he said
The former Celtics big man has made it his life mission to troll NBA players, take bizarre stands, and spin narratives so far from reality.
We do know this, that when it comes to MVP voting, 80% of the voters are white American, 20% are others.
And when he's not busy destroying the NBA culture on TV, he indulges in disturbing tendencies that leaves people wondering if he truly deserves a place in the spotlight.
You ready for this one?
God.
What you need ibuprofen for when you have a perk?
It's your boy Louaista, live from LouHoopsta, and this is the story of the NBA's worst commentator. Now, to understand Perkins' judgment on the game, we have to take a quick look at his NBA career and how it ultimately shaped his perspective. Kendrick Perkins' childhood was far from ideal, with a father who disappeared on him at 2 years old to pursue a basketball career in New Zealand. And just 3 years later, his mother would be tragically shot by a friend over a simple argument. With his dad still in another country, Perk was left to take care of his grandparents, who at the time struggled financially. Growing up without a mom and a dad who left to play basketball but never made it to the NBA lit a fire in Perk that ultimately pulled him into the game of basketball. Now, there's no telling if he got into basketball to prove that he could actually surpass his dad in the game, or simply because he wanted to provide for himself and his grandparents. Either way, Big Perk would go on to become one of the most dominant high school players in Texas, standing at a staggering 6'10" frame, which might not sound like a lot, but in high school, this gave him a formidable presence on the court. Perk was averaging 27.5 points, 16.4 rebounds, and 7.8 blocks as a senior, leading his school to a state title and earning a spot in the McDonald's All-American game. After proving he was a force to be reckoned with on the court, Kendrick went straight from high school to the NBA. In the 2003 NBA draft, Big Perk was selected as the 27th overall pick by the Grizzlies and was immediately traded over to the Boston Celtics. You might think he had finally gotten a chance to go all in the game, but unfortunately, that wasn't the case at all. For a good 3 years, Kendrick struggled to make a dent in the NBA, averaging a disappointing 3.8 points per game, which got fans wondering if he had the grit to compete in the NBA. But something changed in 2007 when the Celtics acquired star players Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett, paired with the dominant Paul Pierce to form the Boston Big Three era.
it put us together. We're gonna be whatever we're gonna be, starting with this right here.
The Three Amigos.
With the presence of these three elite players on the court, Perk suddenly found his strength as a role player, which turned out to be doing dirty work for the team. And it all paid off as the Boston Celtics ended up winning the 2007-2008 NBA championship, earning Perk his first ring.
Celtic championship since 1986.
Just 2 years later, the Celtics were back in the NBA Finals against the Lakers. However, this would turn out to be the game that turned everything for Perk.
On the switch, shoots over to Saul. Perkins had it, lost it, but he got hit. That's going to be the third team foul, as Perkins is still down and shaken up on the play. He must have taken a hard hit. That's one of the toughest guys in the NBA. As head athletic trainer Eddie Lacerte was out to check on him.
This gruesome injury ended up costing the Celtics the championship, as the Lakers would own a 53-40 rebound advantage in Game 7. If they had Perk, maybe those numbers would have been a little more even. After his surgery, Perk was immediately traded to Oklahoma, as the Celtics franchise no longer needed an injured big man. and at this point, his performance on the court had dropped even further. Plus, in that era of the NBA, the need for a bulky role player started to fizzle out as teams relied more on good guards to win. Unable to meet expectations, Perk was traded again to the Pelicans, where he averaged a sad 3.5 points per game and 2.5 rebounds. After one season, Perk unfortunately dropped down to the G League Canton Charge, before finally wrapping up his career in the NBA. Now, we understand how far from impressive Big Perk's career in the NBA actually was, with a total average of 5.4 points, 5.8 rebounds in 14 seasons. And aside from barely scoring points, his plays were also laughable, making him a legend on Shaq'd and a Fool.
Number 5, Kendrick Perkins. Kendrick Bronson is back.
He's back. Texas finest.
Perkins misses a free throw.
Okay.
Then it gets worse. Where'd the ball go? Which way did it go? Which way did it go?
That hurt twice.
Which way did it go? Which way did it go? And number 5 is my main man, Kendrick Perkins. Perk thinks he's Dr. J for a second. A reverse layup going horribly wrong. What are you doing, Perkins?
Kendrick.
Let me see that again.
Man, that's Texas, man.
Air dunk. Number 3, Kendrick Perkins.
Oh, leave my
the
man.
Shaq and the Fool legend has set
legend?
a random screen on
He's a
nobody for no reason.
Wait, let me see that again.
Watch.
He's a legend?
Sets a screen? No. Number 5, watch Kendrick Perkins lead the fast break. Perkins with the tragic Bronson. Good pass.
Now he looks at the referee. He yells
Good
at the
pass, big man.
watch him yell at the ref. Watch him yell at the ref. Look at him.
It's pretty obvious that Kendrick Perkins never made a real impact in the game. So when he finally had a chance to promote the game via becoming a sports commentator, he immediately jumped on it. But surprisingly, what should have been a way to redeem himself quickly turned into something worse. Kendrick Perkins officially joined ESPN in 2019 as the NBA analyst alongside Gary Streisky. Initially, this seemed like a chance for NBA fans to see more of Perk since his retirement from the game. And acknowledging the fact that he had real-life experience on the court for 14 solid seasons, many fans' expectations on his opinions were pretty high. But as time went on, this excitement quickly began to wear off, as Kendrick didn't turn out to be who they thought he really was. See, in a desperate need to prove himself to the NBA community, Perk was willing to work in conditions a normal person wouldn't put up with. I had to earn my stripes at that network. My first year and a half, I worked there for free. Working without pay for over a year just goes to show that Perk was willing to go to extreme lengths to prove that he was the man for the job. And whether you see this as hard work or plain desperation, Perk's need to prove a point was exactly what pushed him into doing everything possible to make a name for himself, even if it meant completely discrediting an NBA player and making insane accusations. Throughout the 2020 to 2022 NBA seasons, Nikola Jokic effortlessly bagged the MVP awards, becoming a huge fan favorite amongst the league. It was a feat Perk never dared to hope for, despite being a fairly good defensive player. Then in 2023, Jokic won the MVP award again, and Kendrick Perkins suggested the Nuggets center was undeserving of the award.
Are you sitting here and saying that the reigning two-time league MVP who plays for the Denver Nuggets, Nikola Jokic, his numbers, Pat? Is that what you're saying?
You heard what the hell I said. I said he had 8 games where he had single-digit shot attempts. And for a while, it was 9.5 assists he was averaging, 9.8. And all of a sudden, I saw those shot attempts and his points go down, and I started to see his assists go up.
Technically, if his speculations were remotely true, it's not against the rules of the game. But for the sake of respect in the NBA community, there wasn't any indication that the Joker was intentionally stat padding, and the fact that he won just 2 MVPs back-to-back over the last 2 seasons. It's obvious that Jokic was indeed a star player, which was beyond Perk's wildest dreams. So it's clear why Perkins might get the urge to point a finger to discredit the future Hall of Famer. However, it didn't mean everyone was gonna let him say whatever he wanted, as another former NBA star turned pundit and now head coach, JJ Redick, felt Perkins was utterly wrong with his moronic take.
I strongly disagree with this. And look, I've never been Nikola Jokic's teammate. If you ask anyone that's been around him, heck, I did it on Sunday night with Michael Malone. Nikola Jokic does not care about stats, does not care about averaging a triple-double. Nikola Jokic, I hate to tell everyone, doesn't care about winning an MVP. He cares about winning a championship. The idea that he's stat padding, but like, let's not make up a narrative about a player that is just so unbased in reality. Perk, I love you, but no.
In addition, some NBA fans suggested that Kendrick Perkins might really be speaking out of jealousy. Kendrick Perkins will call anything stat padding if it exceeds his career averages, while the rest claim that Perk was clearly speeding his way to a mental institution. Perk needs a doctor. Perk must be taking too many perks. You can literally watch Perk's brain struggle. However, when Kendrick Perkins couldn't discredit Jokic with this outrageous claim, his next move was absolutely shocking. In a second attempt to undermine the Joker's efforts on the court, Perk made a wild accusation, but this time against the MVP voters.
When it comes to MVP voting, 80% of the voters are white American. 20%.
Even the look on Stephen A. Smith's face would give you an idea of how absurd Perk's take was. Cause claiming that the MVP voters are racists and somehow white supremacists is absolutely ridiculous, considering that since the inception of the MVP voting system in the 80s, black players have won approximately 33 times compared to 11 times won by white players. In fact, for 3 years before Jokic went on a roll in the 2020-21 season, the NBA MVP awards were won by Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and Giannis consecutively. What's even more laughable is the fact that when he got called out on his bluff, his response didn't make it better.
But what we've just witnessed is the problem with this show, where we create narratives that do not exist in reality. The implication, what you are implying, that the white voters that vote on NBA are racist, that they favor white people. You just said that. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. That is exactly what you implied, Kendrick Perkins. That is exactly what you implied. Secondly, hold on.
I did not call. I stated the facts. And you're not about to sit up.
We all know what you implied the other day. We all know what you implied just now. Hold on.
I stated it's the facts.
Going from false accusations to claiming he is speaking facts when the facts in question suggested that he is completely wrong is genuinely alarming. Even fans commended his level of buffoonery. I gotta give Perkins his props. Bro reached a new level of stupidity and ridiculousness when it comes to these takes. It's really fascinating. At this point, the NBA fans wondered how ESPN thought it was a good idea to make someone like Perk an NBA analyst. After facing so much backlash for his claims, ESPN had to apologize to the NBA community on his behalf. However, this wouldn't be the only time Perk would find himself in the middle of controversy caused by his outlandish takes, and this time the consequences were life-threatening. During the 2020-21 season, the Milwaukee Bucks had a good run. With a 46-26 record, they went on to win the NBA Finals of that season. However, during the finals, a weird situation seemed to spark in Game 4 when Giannis scored 26 points while Middleton laid down an impressive 40 points. This sparked a heated debate on which player among the duo actually carried the team. And Kendrick Perkins had an interesting take on the case, to say the least.
Perk, what did Middleton prove last night?
What I've been preaching time and time again, that he's the Batman of this team and Giannis is the Robin. And look, it's okay to be the Robin. People think that's a bad thing. It's not. Okay, we all know that Giannis is a guy that could dominate the paint. He could get to the paint when he wants. But when it matters the most, we have seen time and time again that Giannis freezes up in the big.
Making this bold claim just because Middleton scored significantly higher than Giannis is a long stretch, especially since throughout the season, Giannis had proven to be the primary driving force of the team with a field goal percentage of 56.9% compared to Middleton's 47.6%. Now, both players weren't so far off from each other in terms of hard stats, but trying to paint Giannis as a sidekick is demeaning, and also doesn't align with the simple results of the basketball eye test. Cause when you watch Giannis' dominance on the court, the name Robin is the last thing that comes to mind.
That's a stretch. So we're gonna start off with some wild takes. I've heard you said that before in the past. So Chris Middleton is great. He proved last night that he can be big in big moments. But first of all, you said being called a Robin is not an insult. It absolutely is an insult to a two-time MVP. Robin don't even got no pants.
One crazy NBA fan was so angry at this ridiculous take that he was willing to unalive the big man and his family.
I started getting a death threat, and it was going like to my wife account and stuff like that. And this dude was sending me threat after threat after threat. I'm gonna kill your kids. Soon as you get there, I know where you stay. I'm gonna murder you. Like,
while the dude was later arrested for the death threats, we can clearly understand his frustration with Perk's questionable opinions. I mean, it's hard to ignore Giannis's impact on the team, cause in his absence, the Bucks barely got by. In fact, you might argue that the entire Bucks strategy is created with Giannis's strengths in mind.
That whole team is built around him. You know why Chris Middleton can go off on occasion? Because they devise entire defenses to slow down Giannis. He is not perfect, but he is obviously the person who this team is built around. And you know how I can absolutely prove it? If I haven't proven it so far, I can prove it like this. At the end of this season, or at the end of both of their careers, no one is going to look at Giannis, say they never won a championship. No one's going to look at Chris Middleton and say, you know, Chris Middleton never won a championship. They're going to look at the two-time NBA MVP and measure his career by how many championships he won.
It's pretty clear that Kendrick Perkins was either trolling or just trying to get under Giannis's skin. And he even made it obvious in a more recent case where he directly took shots at Giannis for not publicly dumping his team.
Giannis is a coward. Giannis is a coward. Let's just call it spade to spade. We wouldn't, and I say that respectfully.
No, wait,
hold on. No, be quiet, man.
You finish your statement.
And I say that respectfully because he don't want to be there. He don't want to be there, and it's okay. So for like, instead of him just coming out and saying, "Trade me, trade me, trade me," I don't want to hear. It was reported a request from Brian Windhorst that Giannis went to the front. No, publicly come out and say trade me and stand on it. Not him. I'm saying once they come out, they ask you the question, say yes. My time is up, because I'm tired of it, bro.
Calling a guy a coward for not leaving the same team where he won 3 times MVP and 1 NBA championship is insanely absurd.
Who are you, me, her, Channing, to tell Giannis how to handle the exit from the team that he won an MVP and a championship and a finals MVP? Who are we to tell him how to handle this? They have a team, they have an exhaustion. You're talking about, I'm tired of this. No one gives a fuck. Giannis doesn't give a fuck what you're tired about, nor should he. Respectfully.
Well, why should we give a fuck about him every day?
Because we're covering basketball.
And what's even more frustrating is the fact that the player in question hasn't made any comments or given any hints of wanting to be traded at all. But even if he wanted to be traded, it's obvious he wants to keep the details undercover. And it's not up to Perk to make that decision for the Greek freak. This pattern of misrepresenting a player on TV is not just limited to his criticisms, because over the years, Kendrick Perkins just has a way of spinning weird narratives, even if he had good intentions. When the NBA shut down due to the Rona break, some NBA players gained a significant amount of weight while staying indoors 24/7. But one player who shocked everyone with an insane transformation was James Harden. And as usual, Kendrick Perkins made some speculations on the situation that seemed completely out of pocket.
Absolutely, Rachel. Look, I'm happy to see that James was dedicated and used this time wisely during this pandemic, and he wasn't hanging out with his good friends, the Lil Baby and Meek Mills. It shows dedication. James was in the lab, and it's going to be dangerous. You're talking about a guy who's one of the most prolific scorers to ever touch the basketball, and he then lost weight and he's dedicated. It's going to be dangerous, and it puts the Rockets up there as a heavy favorite to win the title if the season resumes. So I love what James is doing. I love his dedication, and
claiming that James Harden's weight loss will automatically make him a better player and in turn put the Rockets on an astronomical rise to contend for the NBA championship might not be completely true. Because considering James is a sharpshooting guard, teams would close out on him on the perimeter, forcing him to make plays within the arc. And within the arc, specifically around the paint, having less weight might actually be a disadvantage for him, and it was. See, during the 2019-2020 season before the break, James Harden was averaging 34 points per game, leading the entire NBA in scoring. In fact, he was also the Rockets' playmaker, logging 36 minutes per night, and leading the team in assists as well. However, after his weight loss during the break, what followed was a little underwhelming, with his scoring down to 24.8 points per game at the beginning of the 2020-21 season. And what makes all of this even weirder is the fact that James had already requested to be traded to the Nets, which happened just after 8 games, causing the Rockets to bottom out with a disappointing 17-55 record, and missing the playoffs by a solid mile. Now, even after being traded to the Nets, he still averaged 24 points per game in that season. These inconsistencies in Perk's takes and understanding of the game made fans wonder how this guy even ended up on live television. How does he have a job talking sports? Shaking my head. You know that Kendrick Perkins is saying something stupid whenever you hear words coming out of his mouth. However, NBA players aren't the only ones taunted by Big Perk, because in true Perk fashion, he has taken shots at just about anyone in the league, including respected coaches. At the end of the 2022-23 season, the Boston Celtics had a great regular season performance, wrapping up with a 57-25 record. Yet Kendrick Perkins wasn't totally impressed, as he felt that the Celtics' coach Joe Mazzulla did a terrible job.
Joe Mazzulla, this is why I picked Michael Malone. They have 2 Joe Mazzullas. They have the one that got the philosophy of, we're gonna get up more threes than you, and you know, when they do and they hit him, he looks great. And then you have the other Joe Mazzulla who just stands over there, and you wonder, like, if you take his brain out and you put it in the bird is gonna start flying backwards.
However, some NBA fans felt that Perk was making sense. But it's important to note that regardless of how bad he might think Mazzulla's strategy was, if he had a different opinion on how the coach should have run his team, there are more ways to make the point instead of straight up calling the man stupid. In light of this statement, the Boston Celtics would ban Kendrick Perkins from their 18th banner celebration as they felt his statements crossed the line. All of this goes to show how off limits Big Perk would go to air his opinions, and how his outlandish takes are not even limited to NBA players alone. And that was certainly the case with his takes on Shedeur Sanders. During the 2025 NFL drafts, the Cleveland Browns acquired the vibrant Shedeur Sanders, and just after playing a few games with the team, Kendrick Perkins came to a shocking conclusion.
You ready for this take?
I'm ready.
Shedeur Sanders is the most powerful black man since 2009. You know what happened in 2009?
Right.
That's when President Obama got elected in office. He's the most powerful black man since 2009. Here's why I say,
comparing a 23-year-old who just joined the NFL with little experience whatsoever on the field to a man who single-handedly built his legacy for over a decade is completely insane. This absurd hot take makes you wonder if Perkins really means his business, or if he intentionally baits the entire sports community into rage.
Player in sports.
Terrible. What an awful take by Kendrick Perkins. An embarrassing take to equate a 5th-round quarterback with the first freaking black president of the United States in a country where black people came over here in chains as slaves. How dare you diminish Barack Obama and his legacy to some damn football player? Are you serious? Kelvin, I'm not even kidding. It is demeaning. Really? That's your hot take? That this dude matters more and is the most powerful man than the first black president of the United States? I don't think so.
And in all fairness, while Shedeur might be showing potential for greatness in the game, you can't really cast him in the light of a zero-to-hero narrative, let alone claim that he is powerful at any measure, because when you look at his background, he never really had to fight for anything in life.
He ain't one of those great American stories where a guy came from nothing, had everything against him. His dad's a great former athlete. His dad is a Hall of Famer in football and played Major League Baseball. His dad coached him all the way up to major college football. His dad. He grew up rich. Really? That's the story that you're so enthralled with? I'm sorry. It's not an anti-Shedeur Sanders, but let's not make it bigger than it really is. That's my point.
Now, the NFL community really met this hot take with mixed feelings, with some suggesting that Shedeur Sanders is indeed a good player, but Perkins might have taken things a little too far, while others suggested that the big man might just be off the deep end. Kendrick Perkins is living proof that basketball can give you CTE. However, in Perk's defense, his basis for taking the stand is merely from the point of influence.
When Shedeur Sanders is playing, all beef stops at that moment, right? It's the first time that you actually could go on social media, X, Instagram, TikTok.
Threads.
What up, Threads, right? Yeah, absolutely, Threads. I was gonna say it, he beat me to it, you know what I mean? So you go on there, right, and it's nothing but positive.
His point might sound reasonable, but in actual sense, it was just too soon to assume anything at all regarding both Shedeur's performance and the fans' reaction in general. So whether Perk waited until he can completely grasp the true ability of the 23-year-old before glazing him, there's no denying that the fact that Perk just doesn't know the right time to make certain statements. And recently, this inability to read the room has put him in a position that almost cost him his job. After the opening night game between the Rockets and the Oklahoma City Thunder, Perk and his co-host Ellie Duncan went on TV to discuss the game. But shortly into the segment, Kendrick Perkins made a statement that left Ellie discombobulated.
Done.
You ready for this one?
God.
What you need ibuprofen for when you have a perk?
The lean back.
While this is certainly questionable riz for any ordinary person, coming from Perk, a man who has lived his whole career embodying the persona of the perfect family man, this came off as extremely cringe. Plus, making this sort of statement around the same time that the internet was just recovering from the viral scandal of Joy Taylor, who allegedly used her body to climb the corporate TV ladder, is just disturbing. And you could clearly see how uncomfortable Ellie Duncan was. Sometimes Perks' reactions alone were enough to throw anyone off their game.
And I'm not a big sauce guy, so when I go and order chicken tenders, I ain't getting ranch and all. I don't know nothing about
You want the
sauce.
dry rub? All right, we're gonna move on now. We're talking about chicken.
Now, whether Perk was just joking around or giving us glimpses into his dark side, it's pretty obvious why he would always take the case of the NBA's worst commentator. As always, it's your boy Louaista, live from LouHoopsta, and I want to thank y'all for watching today's video. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.